Hi, this is Roxanne, and I'm going to be going over today with you the little 3 apple painting practice project. And here are some of the supplies I'm using. I'm using either aloe vera gel as a fabric medium or the golden fabric medium. Either one will work. I've got a small selection of Inktense pencils. I've got, I've got black, charcoal, and brown for the shadows, and a little bit of yellow also. I discovered that the white does not work very well. I took a scrap of my red apple fabric and I tried it out with the white pencil, and it does not work very well for the highlights. So for that, I'm going to be using an opaque jacquard white fabric paint, and that is what I'm going to be using for these little highlights here because I need to cover the red. Okay, so I already have my project fused down, so I'll be turning the camera now to show you. Before I turn the camera, I've got a very narrow 1/4 inch angled brush and a wider brush for some of the shading that I'm going to be doing. So let's see if I can get this turned around here. Okay, bear with me a minute. Okay, that should give you a pretty good view of what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to start off with the white. So I'm going to take a little bit of white paint. You don't need very much. And I think I'm going to use the maybe a little bit more. I'm going to use the fabric medium for that. And my small brush. So I'm going to mix a bit of paint with the fabric medium. And then I've already got my fabric, my apple fabric marked, so I'm just referring now to my photograph. Put that where I can see it. And I've got a little white blob right there, so I'm going to just sort of rough that in. It looks like the light is hitting the side of the apple. And the more paint you use, the brighter the white. Okay, so that looks pretty good for now. Let me go on to the next one. So there's a big one over here. It's really just like paint by numbers at this point, except there's no numbers. Just painting in the areas that you marked with Sorrel. And then there's another one over here. This one's a little not as bright as the other ones. I'm going to brighten that one up a bit because it's pretty bright. And you can sort of tap the edges so that it looks a little more rough. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the white. I'm going to go over this one again, make it a little brighter. And that's not too hard. That's all you have to do. All right, so I'm just going to wash out my brush. I've got a little bit of water over here and a paper towel. All right, so far so good. Now we're going to start looking for some shadows. So there's 2 kinds of shadows. You can see right here in the photograph, this is a very hard edge. and then there are edges that are not so hard. So the edges that are hard, we're going to use the angle of this angled brush, and the areas that are softer, like here, we're going to blend it a little bit more. So let's see. I'm going to take my black, I think. Bark. That's not black. Okay, this is black because this is a very dark shadow. Excuse me. And I'm going to start to just draw that in. And over here, I'm just going to shade that in a little bit. Now, because I'm starting with light fabric, I'm going to need to use a lot. So I'm going to have to really get pretty dark with this. Okay, so this whole area is going to need to be covered in. So now I think I'm going to try using my I'll just start off just roughing it in. And this is dry fabric right now. I might have to sharpen this pencil because I use it a lot. All right, let's see what happens now when we put a little bit of aloe vera on that. Start somewhere in the middle, and you can see how it gets much darker really fast, which is kind of what we want. I have to get some more. Almost done. Okay, the reason you want to use aloe vera versus water, although you can use water, you have a little more control because water will make the color spread in places that you may not want it to spread. I'm blending that edge a little bit more. Okay, so that is that one. Now I might go back in with my pencil. Looks pretty good so far. So now we've just put in this big shadow right here. Except that we've covered up that little sliver, so I might have to go back in there with some white when it's dry to make this little thing happen. Okay, so now I'm starting to look at my apples, and I'm going to go back to my small brush again, and I'm going to start to, let's see, which one is this? This is the brown, so this is not quite as dark. Although I find it's easiest to put in the darkest darks first, so I'll go back to my black pencil. And I'm going to start roughing in these areas. And where it's the darkest, I really want to cover that red as much as possible. And right on the edge there, it's pretty dark. Okay, now I go back with my gel and I start to make those areas really darken up. And of course, if I want it darker, I can always add more black with the pencil. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that shadow. So basically that's what you're going to be doing. Now I can take the paint that's already on this brush, and in these areas where it's not quite so dark, I can just sort of, you know, make it a little bit darker here and there. Get that one to darken up. Okay, now I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to just add a few little streaks here and there, but not cover it completely like I did with the other one. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that shadow. The other area, then I would of course do the same thing with this area here, this area here, and this whole side of the apple. Now there's some little areas of yellow there, and I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my pencil in the aloe vera and just see if I can get that to kind of come alive a little bit on the apple. Might have to add a bit of white to that too to get it to show more. But there's some sort of yellowish streaks in the apple there that I kind of want to bring out. Definitely want to do some up here and add some white up there as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go back with my white. Clean off my brush. And I'm going to add a little bit of white in here. Just sort of speckle it in here. Just that little bit right there. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just you're giving the impression. And go back over here a little bit. Grab my yellow pencil again and just blend a bit. Okay. So that's pretty much how you do it. There are a couple lines in the wood here that I'm going to just add in with my black pencil and just continue adding the shading on the sides and the inside of the apple and do the stems. Let me just do one of the stems here so you can see it's pretty simple to do. Grab that. Let's see, I'm going to do this dark brown because it's a little easier. And I'm going to put a little bit of aloe vera on the tip of the pencil. And then I'm just going to shade it like so. Down along one side. Like that. And I can even grab that shadow that's there. And so on and so forth. That's how you would do it. Then, of course, you would let it all dry, and then you would iron it to heat set it. So I will continue painting, and then I'll share a snapshot of it when it's all done. Hope this was helpful, and enjoy doing your practice piece.